SEO is 4 pillars: authority, content, technicals, and UX and user behavior.
But most businesses are so caught up on harvesting for now, like what's happening now, that they forget to plant these seeds for the future.
I like to call it AEO, answer engine optimization.
SEO takes too long and it's too expensive. At least that's what I thought before I saw Manick Bhan talk in Nashville this year. He showed me the light and how to turn SEO into one of your top lead generation channels in just 14 to 30 days. Luckily for you, today's guest is the master of SEO for lead generation. Manick, welcome to the Masters of Lead Generation podcast.
Amazing to be here. Thank you, Alicia.
Okay. I want to make sure people understand why you are the master. So you're the CEO of LinkGraph, an award-winning SEO agency, and founder and CTO of the Search Atlas SEO software suite. You've grown your companies 8 figures. You're a 3 times Inc. 5000 founder, and your companies have helped hundreds of enterprise clients and over 80,000 digital marketers. Am I missing anything from that impressive resume?
I'm really good at tying my shoes as well, and
Great.
I've got a bunch of random skills as well. But thank you for like that nice intro. And it's been like a decade-long journey to learn the things and build the things that we built now. And you know, whenever you dedicate yourself to one mission for such a long time, you're going to see success, right?
Mm-hmm. And you're also my personal axe throwing coach, but we can maybe talk about that later. For now, just to set the scene, I saw you talk in Nashville at Agency Founders, and I was like, holy shit, okay, so SEO is not just getting yellow page backlinks like it was 10 years ago when I was working in my first agency, literally doing that. It was awful. So for all of us noobs, can you define like what is SEO? Like what are we talking about today?
Yeah, SEO is the art and the science of making your website irresistible to search engines. It used to be primarily about Google, but I would argue SEO, or as I like to call it, AEO, answer engine optimization, it's an evolution, recognizing that there are new search engines out there as well that, while are not nearly as large as Google, are still significant and important for different reasons. So it also includes Bing, it also includes YouTube, which is the second largest search engine, and it even includes the GPTs like ChatGPT and OpenAI and Claude. And it's the science of really how do you make your website and its content so good and so such a strong reputation behind it and authority that Google really has no choice but to rank you number one.
And that's some of the specific strategies and systems we're going to get into today. But before we get into that, I want to paint people a picture of what their life can be like when they actually master SEO. So do you have some results or examples that you've seen for businesses? Like, spoiler alert, I know you do because you showed in that presentation, when they actually implement SEO properly for their business.
Yeah, well, the common refrain whenever you hear a lot of people talk about SEO is it's going to take you 6 months, or it's going to take you, some people say 3, a lot of people will even say a year, because they want to give themselves plenty of time for the uncertain response that they're not sure exactly when or how it will come from Google, and give them time to implement the large array of multidisciplinary improvements that need to be made to a website such that it will see good ranking results in Google. And that historically has taken time, to implement, because SEO is 4 pillars: authority, content, technicals, and UX and user behavior. All of those 4 components are actually how Google, now as a very advanced search engine, as an advanced hybrid text search engine, ranks information. And so it does take time to build on those 4 pillars. However, now in the modern age of AI, with the benefit of AI being able to make sensible choices and solve very predefined SEO math problems for us, we can accelerate significantly the execution of what we call the holistic SEO framework, which is basically turning all the dials on any website and Google My Business profile on in those 4 key pillars. So when we do that, we're able to produce predictable ranking results within a week. So what I presented at Agency Founders was a case study that we did for another agency that was using our technology. They had 152 orthodontists in the United States on that. Their ICP is orthodontist, so that's who they're serving. And they wanted us to get them ranking better, of course, on Google Search and on Google Maps. What I presented was a GIF of 152 case studies in 60 seconds. So you could see exactly what happens when this holistic methodology is implemented programmatically using software that we created called Auto. And so you can see within 7 days, there's a spike, there's a big boom, and the ranking results sustain and continue to improve over time. So that effectively, us being able to produce that outcome using software, that's what we had to figure out at our agency over the last 7 or 8 years of doing it by hand and trial and error and reading the Google patents and really kind of reading in between the lines and the tea leaves of what they're saying with their disclosures in the algorithm updates when they roll those out, kind of what they're trying to tell us about how they see the world and the internet as from their perspective. So that's how we figured it out, and it's been a amazing path for us that we can now offer that technology to anyone, and they can reproduce the same case studies that we have now thousands of.
And to recap that, so you have the 4 pillars of SEO. There's the off-page signals, which is authority and UX and behavior. And then we have the on-page, which is content and technicals, right? And we're going to dive into that more, but that is effectively SEO strategy, yeah?
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. We're going to get into some
just those 4
soon.
things.
Just those 4 things. Easy, super
no
simple.
Big deal.
And then the benefit of SEO, because our agency, we do paid ads, that's our lane. And I had to have a cold shower and sleep on it a bit after watching Agency Founders and watching you before I'm yeah, I got to start selling SEO. This is the way of the future, because it is. And I am convinced now that my next, if I add something, that is the next service line is SEO, because 1, it's the highest buyer intent, right? People looking for you effectively. It's that large, stable traffic source, highest channel ROI and lifetime value. Is that right as well? Mm-hmm. And every business can benefit from Google. Those were the 4 big benefits that you gave.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly spot on. And what a lot of people overlook, I would say, is that when you look at any large public company, whether it's a e-com brand, whether it's a B2B company, B2C company, a utility company, you will see that those companies, they all have a very meaningful amount of their traffic coming from organic, because they've earned their rankings over time. They've built the content, they've built the footprint to rank on Google. And so when we look at sustainable businesses, the ones that are really, truly long-term sustainable, right? And what I mean by sustainable is that their unit economics, net of their cost of their paid media, are really healthy. One of the challenges, of course, with paid media is each year over year, we see CPCs increase. According to Google's latest 10Q that they published in January about their financial performance, CPCs across their entire platform are up 12%. That's crazy, right? So with them inflating CPCs, I don't think it's just advertisers coming in and buying more ads or competing more with each other. I think it's also Google as a platform doing this. That 12% increase in access to the same traffic makes businesses have smaller and smaller margins over time. And this trend has gone on for over a decade, right? So if you just look at this and say, where are we going to be in 5 years if this trend continues, you realize how essential it is that we figure out organic search and earned media, where we actually earn that traffic and we build our own audience. So we don't have to keep buying it from Facebook, from Google, or from whatever the other sources might be. I'm not poo-pooing paid media, because it's an incredibly powerful marketing channel and it can be sustainable. But the beauty of SEO is that once you earn those rankings, there's no cogs to that traffic. It's yours. And it can continue growing and building in the future, essentially forever.
And that's what you're saying. It's it's not about one or the other. It's diversification, right? So, and this is what I have a conversation about even at the ad level with clients, where they're oh, well, Google ads is a lower CPA, so we just want to cut off our Facebook ads. I'm bro, what are you fucking talking about? No, just because it's it's not one or the other. You want to have this sphere of influence in your business where you go building this competitive, impenetrable moat around your business. And And I am very much, I've drank so much Kool-Aid from you now. Like SEO will be the next thing that I do, but I had to not have shiny object syndrome. And the way I think about lead gen is it's in one of two camps. You can harvest for now, or you can plant seeds for later. But most businesses, and this is paid ads, right, are so caught up on harvesting for now, like what's happening now, that they forget to plant these seeds for the future. And SEO, YouTube, we do YouTube, it's like an asset for leverage, and it compounds over time, right? And then it sprouts and grows, and the fruits you can pick for generations because you took the time and you weren't just cutting things in market straight away.
For sure. And to your point, like any channel has its inherent risks where, for example, with Meta, Q4, there's always a huge spike in CPMs because everyone, for a lot of e-com stores, that's where they make their nut is in December, right? For Christmas. And so if you're a B2B company and you're trying to reach that audience on Facebook, you're going to see a degradation in your performance. There's like a hangover about 10 days plus or minus any major holiday. And so when you're so tightly coupled to any one channel, the idiosyncrasies of what happens on that channel can affect you big time and cause unpredictable behavior in your business outcomes, right? Like your business can become smaller overnight just because of what happened to a Facebook algorithm, right? But the same is also true of Google. Like websites get hit by Google algorithm updates. So as you said, and I totally agree with this, you want to build a sphere of influence. You want to be everywhere where your customers are. And as we know, think about our own buyer journeys. The last time we bought something online, sometimes you discover a product that you weren't expecting or didn't know about on a paid channel, like let's use Meta as an example, or YouTube even. And then the next thing you think about is like, oh, that's a great, I just went skiing. I came back from Park City, which is why I got this cool shirt on. And I get ads now for all the ski gear all the time. And now, when I'm looking at something, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if this product is as good as the marketing says it is. I'm going to go check Reddit. I'm going to go check Google. I'm going to go check the reviews. So it's an omni-channel experience that we have as buyers. And if you don't develop your brand across all those channels, well, you've got Achilles heels all over the place and you won't be able to see it. This is the hardest part about it. There's no analytics tool, whether it could be GA4 or ROAS or whichever one there is. None of those tools are going to tell you the reason that you're losing out on conversions is your Reddit presence is too weak and people are saying bad things about your brand, or they can't find you in organic. And when people Google, ski gloves, you just don't show up and they see your competitor, and then your competitor convinces them to buy instead of you. You can't trace that user behavior. So it's hard to actually understand the impact that not going omni-channel actually has on the business. When you do it right and you do omni-channel properly, what you will actually see is you'll see the paid ads perform better. The organic rankings, because traffic is a factor, they lift up. The Facebook ads, because now people have probably already seen your brand somewhere else online, the cost, the CTR on those ads is actually higher because you're a known brand, you're a known commodity. So all these channels really function and they work together. And agencies, including ours, it is important to specialize and to know a channel really well, or maybe a avatar, an ICP that you know really well. And it is challenging, especially in today's modern moment that we're in with the AI race and the AI evolution taking place so rapidly, that to be the best in every channel is no simple feat. It takes quite a bit of work to be at the cutting edge of everything. And it's often better, I think, to decide where are we going to be experts and masters and forego other channels that you just know that, what, I'm not going to be the best in this channel, and so I'm going to specialize myself. As I know you guys really specialize and really focus with persuasion experience on the areas that you guys do best.
Exactly. And not that I know much about sports, but it's like an NBA team, like assisted conversions, right? It's not the person who slam dunks it at the end who's getting points alone. It's like the Google ads touches it, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And so it's all assisted conversions. And Google calls it, in a paper I read a million years ago, but like the messy middle. And it's really hard to track. But what happens is people are looking at the last click attribution, like what's the last thing that made the conversion, and then they put all the glory onto that, but they're not looking at the channels that passed the ball in 100 times, which is this sphere of influence, right? So I usually say ads are fast, but content lasts. I'm going to change that to ads are fast, but AEO lasts. And that's going to be my new vibe.
Nice. There you go. It's going to work for you too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm going to get it tattooed on my lower back. But before we get into that, how has SEO changed in the last 5 years? And maybe layer this in with some big misconceptions that people have, because it's changed so dramatically, and what you guys doing, it's different to other agencies. So if any businesses that are listening are working with a current agency, I can bet you $1 bajillion they are doing it the old school shitty way, locking them into like 12-month contracts and telling them that it takes a really long time.
We have a really cool vantage point on this problem of like, how has SEO changed, and also how the industry is performing and serving SEO. Because number one, we have a lot of agencies. We have over 4,000 agencies that use Search Atlas to execute their SEO strategies for their clients. And that number is growing by a few thousand every month now. So growing very quickly. And so we do a lot of education. We do a lot of teaching. Like, here's what we've learned. Here's our research and how you should do it. And we can see where the agencies were in terms of their strategies and their methodologies, especially even when our agency gets called in for like a brand. At this point, we only keep at our agency a maximum of 100 clients. We won't go over that because we're not really trying to build an even more massive agency. We're just trying to take the 100 most interesting, hard, complicated, creative kind of problems for brands, because that's our lab. That's where we take our research and we're able to validate the hypotheses and build the technology for those 100 businesses. And we don't want to go to 101 because we only need 100, and we'd rather get the best 100 brands, right, to work with. So we have a cool vantage point into how other people are doing it, and also because of our reach, what is actually effective. And what we can see, I mean, and just think about this for a second. The way that we did SEO, let's say last year, let's say Google completely rewrote the algorithm and it's a totally different equation. If you're going based off of a blueprint that was written some time back, how do you know that that blueprint still works? The algorithm can change overnight. I could wake up tomorrow and the algorithm could behave completely differently. And we see in the times where the Google algorithm updates are rolling out, they're rebalancing their index, they're recalculating different mathematical components to the overall blended scores of websites and web pages. So if the equation shifted, how do we know that what we're doing is still effective? Well, there's a mathematical way to figure this out. It's called correlation, where we can look at the search results and analyze them and say, this website or this web page has this authority score and this content score and this technical score and this UX score. And we can create what's called the ensemble score mathematically and correlate it. And that's exactly what we've done, where we can pretty much predict when we pull search results, we could predict the ordering of those search results just based on that math equation, because our math equation and Google's math equation have been tuned together. So that was like a huge breakthrough for us, is reverse engineering the algorithm and building our own equation that mirrors, and it's essentially as a proxy for theirs. So once we did that and we got the equation, we then understood what are the dials and the levers that we need to turn. And then that's exactly what we did. We figured out how do we automate the acceleration of each of those variables in that equation so that we can get websites, including ourselves. We've got thousands and thousands of case studies, now, because it's a math problem. However, we also expect that math problem is going to change over time. As number one, like, we're about to step into the quantum computing era. We're moving in that direction. The equations that we're using currently are basically bound by the computational power of these servers that we all have access to on Google Cloud and Amazon. But when we step into the quantum computing era, the amount of power that unlocks algorithmically, the level of complexity of the math equations is many, many orders of magnitude higher. And so it's just expected that there's going to be a more advanced algorithm to calculate the quality of websites in a way more powerful way than the shorthand notation that's currently being used. And so we're also looking ahead to that to understand, what do those algorithms look like? And how is quantum computing likely to reshape the way that Google's ranking information in its search engine? So it's a little bit forward thinking, but it allows us to be dangerously competitive in the current moment of what the search engine is ranking today.
And by knowing that, that's kind of the thing that obliterates those big misconceptions, right? Like too hard, too technical. No, because you've tuned your mathematical equation to the Google one, so you can predict what's going to happen. So that's not an issue anymore for SEO. It takes too long to see results. Well, it used to be that it would be, oh, it's going to take 6 to 12 months until your lame blog content that we've posted actually starts ranking. Now it's 14 to 30 days. It used to be too much work, but now with this platform that you've built with Search Atlas and the Auto platform as well, this is like automating a lot of it, right? I imagine you still need smart SEO people to use the technology, like it's not just 100% automated. And so I would say then, Alec, in your experience, should all businesses be investing in SEO? Like, and how much should we be investing?
A good question. I'd say, so the answer is, I would say 99 or 98% of businesses should be. There's that 1 or 2% where it may not make sense. And let me give you the example. Like fidget spinners, right? You remember those? Right? When the fidget spinner first came out, no one knew what it was, right? It was a new thing. The fidget spinner didn't even exist on the internet until it was born into existence. So if you were trying to rank on Google for fidget spinner, no one's looking for that, right? So the SEO strategy for that business wasn't really there. You might have had to target like keywords like toys and other really competitive things and phrases that maybe you don't really stand a good chance for. So with SEO in some industries, there might be a level of investment that's too high for what that business is able to afford, where it may not really make sense to focus on that as a channel. It might be more sensible to focus on retailers as a distribution mechanism to grow the business. Maybe it makes more sense to go for community. Maybe it makes sense to find some ad channels where they can scale up slowly rather than having to do long-term investment. But I would say by and large, for 98, 99% of businesses, it is a incredibly dynamic and powerful channel. I think in all of my years of doing this, there's only been a handful of businesses that came to us and they said, hey, Manick, we'd like some help with our SEO. And we politely told them that we didn't think that it would make much sense for them, but very few.
And because it just goes back to the stages of awareness, right? Even if they're not looking for exactly what you do, they're going to be looking like not the solution, they'll be looking for the problem. And then that's just a different way to rank and get in front of you. Do you guys think about it that way as well when you're doing SEO?
We 100% do. So we look at it as like as a funnel, the top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom of funnel traffic. Bottom of funnel traffic is stuff that's so transaction oriented, like buy fidget spinner, right? Or buy ski gloves, like very transactional in nature. And then as you move up a little bit, you still have commercial intent where there's still an intention behind the question or the query that's commerce related. And then as we go to the very top, things are just it can get very broad and informational, where the person who's looking for that information, they may not be in the market to actually buy a fidget spinner, or they may not, or ski gloves. They might just be interested in learning about the best ski resorts in Europe, right? That person looking for the best ski resorts in Europe, could they become a customer of a ski glove company? Well, of course they could. They certainly could. And is it wise to try to have them know about your brand? Of course it is. But they may not be in the market to buy your product in that particular moment. So that's why they're more top of funnel, right? So when we do SEO, we do craft our strategy such that we're focusing on each of the different stages of the funnel. A lot of times you'll see at the top of the funnel, there's just way more people with those informational queries, and we want to get them to the website. Why do we want to get those informational searches? Because when we can get them on the website, we can retarget them. We can get them to see our ad on Facebook. And so going back to the sphere of influence that we were talking about, this is a way that SEO and other channels can be super powerful when you glue them together, because just bringing them to the website means that you can pixel them and cookie them, and then you can run them in your lookalike and retargeting audiences on other platforms. So there's a lot of power there. And sometimes we can get people who started at the top of the funnel to move down to mid funnel and bottom of funnel just by hitting them with our story across multiple channels.
Because people go through the buyer's journey or the stages of awareness, whether you hold their hand or not, right? But so many people are so obsessed with these in-market leads because it's very first order thinking. They just want the people now. But it's like, well, will your business exist in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years time? And imagine if you can find them when they're up here in that problem aware and they're searching for information, you are going, like, you're planting your seeds for later. That's what it is, right? So keep harvesting for now. And I recommend clearing the room on that. But imagine if you're planting all these seeds and building pipeline. But it's what so many businesses just don't have, like that second, third, fourth order thinking when it comes to marketing. They just want money now this month and they don't have that long-term play, right?
Totally. And it's a balance, of course, because, businesses, they can't wait 9 months for something that may or may not show up. So they have to get the near-term results for sure. But if they're too myopic and they're just so nearsighted that they're only focused on the people who are really in the buying moment at this immediate moment right now, number one, everyone wants those leads. Everyone's going to pay top dollar for those leads. And at that point, it's just about what's the limit on your credit card and what's your conversion rate and what's your positioning relative to your competitors. Typically, the more established competitors in the industry have the edge. They have brand awareness. They have deeper pockets. They can outspend you. Some brands even lose money on paid media channels just to keep the competition out, right? They don't even care if they're making positive ROAS, net of the marketing spend, net of their margins. They don't care. They'll even lose money sometimes just because the public markets are more interested in top line revenues, depending on where you are in the market cycle, more interested in top line revenue than net income. And so if they can just add, let's say, $10 million of top line revenue, they know their valuation, 5x, 10x of that multiple increases the enterprise value of the business. That's why they play that game. And it also hurts the small players because they can't find their way to profitability in that channel. So it can be a choppy landscape, especially in certain industries. And that's why I think being able to look at all these channels and say, there is a way forward for me to be successful in every one of these arenas, including SEO. That is, I think, one of my biggest goals is to make SEO accessible again, to make it fun again, and to restore people's faith in the channel because it really can do incredible things.
I think that's very important. It's that restoring faith in the channel. I think there's a lot of trauma to unwrite especially who have worked with agencies who have just taken them for a ride and they charge a lot of money, right? I've worked in agencies for a long time. And even as my business and growing my business, so we're in multi-seven figures. I want to get to 8 in the next couple of years, but I have to make a decision where to deploy my capital. And right now, and I'd be interested to know your opinion, or when you think I should, because I was like, okay, I need to get my predictable, consistent channels going. I need to get my in-market leads first, like oxygen mask on, and then go back down the funnel and start adding my channels. So for me, it's like eat my own dog food. We've got our ads funnel up and running. It's booked calls. Great. We already do content, but I feel like the next thing is SEO. Should I have started that earlier and started deploying capital into that earlier, or is that the right way to think about it?
Well, the cool thing about SEO as a channel is you can start laying seeds at any moment in time. And I would say the people who waited until now before they made the big bets and the big investments, their return on their dollar is way higher now than it ever could be before. Because before, we didn't have the level of automation, we didn't have the level of research, the level of generative AI that we have today now. And so now when you put $1 into SEO, you can create $20 of value for the business. Whereas like 3-4 years ago, maybe it's $1 in, $5 out, something different, depending on also how good the team is. But today, here and now, I think with the training wheels, essentially like the bumpers up on the bowling alley, it's much easier to hit that strike and to get some pins down and to produce a growth in the business than it ever has before. And also when you understand SEO better and you go through the process of actually learning the channel, the way that you create content and the way that you do partnerships with people, you'll also be able to basically do those strategies in a way that serves the SEO results as well. Just knowing the difference between do follow and no follow, knowing the importance of not just getting a brand mention, but an actual backlink, understanding what good quality content looks like and not putting up thin, weak content on the website that's actually going to hold you back in the future and be kind of like this ballast pulling you down, right? Knowing those fundamental principles will allow the team to make better choices. And as you're doing the natural brand building and the content marketing and the expansion and the storytelling that you're doing for your business, for your agency, whatever that might be, you're just going to do it in a way that serves the search engines along that trajectory. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. And I think now we've covered the strategic level of thinking, like how to think about how it fits into your overall diversified lead generation, acquisition channels. And then we've spoken about the 4 pillars. So I'd like to dive into those more and talk about maybe it's like cool growth hacking techniques under each of those. So maybe we'll start with the off-page signals, the authority. What are some of the things, like the actionable things that we should do when we're thinking about authority?
Yeah. So authority comes, so there's a paper from Google about, it's called PageRank, and they revised it and they revised it and they've changed the way they've calculated it. So we're not going to get into the theory side, but it's about building backlinks on the internet. And what I'm not going to say today is the stuff that you'll hear on every other podcast about this stuff, which is, go and build high quality backlinks and go and do, if you build it, they will come. Create good content and people will naturally link to you. The truth of the matter is that stuff doesn't really work, and it's a loser's approach to the channel, frankly, because it doesn't put you in control. It puts you in this passive role where you're just praying and hoping that people link to you. So I'm not a big fan. I want to be in control of my destiny. And so when I look at authority building, there are strategies that I know I can lean on to continually always build authority. For any business owner, the first thing that I think that you should do is build credibility around yourself and who you are and your own persona, and go to publications in your industry and become a contributor, become a thought leader. Be able to publish there, and don't publish there just for the SEO benefit of publishing there, but publish there because you have something of real value and insight to share, so that publication, that journalist, can be the springboard to greater and greater sites. So for example, for me, I published some nerdy research on Search Engine Journal and Search Engine Land and Search Engine Watts and yada, yada, yada. And I use that as a stepping stone to get into bigger sites like Forbes and G2 and Capterra and others. So becoming a contributor, that's really what it's about. Very powerful strategy that anyone listening to this should avail themselves of and make those moves, right? Where you can be active and a participant in creating the authority for your website. So that's one. The other second thing that I think is super powerful is the ability to do partnerships for SEO. So I'll give you an example. My first tech company, Ruckus.com, we did a huge partnership with Shazam. Shazam, the founder and I became friends, and we ended up powering ticketing for Shazam.com and the mobile app. And in doing that, they were linking to our website something like 10 million times from their website. All those backlinks created a lot of authority for us. So think about the ability to do partnerships with people. There are many ways of doing partnerships that can benefit your authority. Reaching out to brands and offering like-for-like exchanges where you're saying, hey, let's do a content collaboration. You can publish on my website some thought leadership. I'll publish on your website some thought leadership. And you can editorially review yours and I'll review mine. But we'll be able to help and support each other in this way. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a actually super powerful and very effective approach. And then there's some stuff that we figured out inside our technology suite called Auto, where we're able to essentially induce websites to do that partnership model for you, where you can build backlinks on real businesses, not like random publications that are out there, but real business websites. Like you could get a backlink from Search Atlas, and I could get a backlink from Persuasion Experience, right? And a myriad of like tens of thousands of other real business websites, but they have to opt in. So these are really unique I call it peer-based link building. This is very unique stuff. There's nothing online really that talks about it because it's a very unique strategy. And then the last two that I'll just highlight is some people might have gotten these emails from some dude in your inbox who was actually masquerading as a girl named like Sarah whatever. And it's actually someone in like India or Pakistan, and they're like huffing these spreadsheets at you, and they're like, pick some links from this spreadsheet, and I'll build these backlinks for you. They're these link peddlers, and they're just like peddling these spreadsheets with backlinks in them. These guys are pretty awful to do business with. A lot of times you'll just lose your backlinks. I would suggest that if people are doing this type of guest posting, find a reputable publisher exchange like Link Laboratory, where you can actually get a huge inventory of publications that accept content, and you can publish to those publications directly. So people that were trying to get people blue checks on Twitter or Instagram, this is how they used to do it. They would publish an article about someone on those news sites and then use their newsworthiness to get the blue check. And then Musk changed it when he made it a pay-to-play thing, and then the industry rapidly just totally evaporated. But that's how they were doing it, is they were using these publisher exchange. So really powerful strategy. And then my last one is press releases. Press releases, very powerful way to build notoriety on news sites. So just there, probably 5 or 6 different really effective strategies for building authority online.
So we have authority online. It's one of our off-page signals. We have the contributors and being the thought leaders, partnerships for SEO, peer backlinking, press releases, and everything else that you just said. The next is the UX and behavior. That's our next off-page. What does that mean and how do we do it?
Yeah, so Google got really interested in how good is your landing page, your website? How helpful is it to users? And there are 2 ways they look at it. One is predictive. They look at the page and they say, I'm going to make a prediction based on this page, your content, and potential keywords. How relevant is this content versus this keyword, right? So there's a predictive score that they give how good the content is, but they also capture real user behavior signals. So anytime you go to Google, you search for something, Google knows that your IP, your computer, Alicia, searched for this. And then as you scroll through your search results, Google can actually see where your mouse position is and if you're hovering over the search results. They actually look at what search results you skipped, that you didn't click on. If you didn't click on it, it's a signal to them that that search result was not as relevant for what you were looking for. And they will actually use this for re-ranking purposes. Once upon a time, somebody used this to make George Bush rank #1 in Google for miserable failure. It was a hack that they did, and they were able to get his page right up for that keyword, which is super embarrassing for him, and frankly, pretty embarrassing for Google at the time. But this is a while ago. Nowadays, they've made this aspect of their algorithm very robust, and we saw a tremendous amount of disclosure about that signal in the mandatory disclosure that they had to give Congress when they were being subpoenaed about how the search engine works. And so we learned a lot about these user behavior signals and how they're tracking and monitoring them. But the way to win is just make your web page, do all the stuff that everyone knows they need to do. Make the web page beautiful, make it fast, make it conversion optimized, make it mobile responsive. Think really about the user's experience when they're on the page. And what you want them to do is a few things. You want them to dwell time. You want them to live there for as long as possible. You want them to engage with the page. You want them to click on stuff. You want them to go deeper into the website. And if you're able to do that, and you're able to do it consistently, generally at scale across your website because your site's good and it's fast and it's well designed from a CRO perspective, then you're going to see your rankings move up versus your peers. But it does take some time.
And this is something that, whether it's content or SEO or whatever, right? It's like how to hack the algorithm, hack the algorithm. But at the end of the day, it's just the algorithm is a reflection of how our human behavior is, how we keep people on platforms and doing things. And so what you're saying in the UX behavior, it's just, okay, how do we make it an easy experience? Like think of your website or your landing page like your storefront. And if as soon as they walk in, you've got a vending machine in front of them and they have to try and shuffle past this vending machine and they can't find the cash register. It's like you have to put the same level of thought into it. And I've always thought it was so funny because that's what I specialize in, right? Like landing pages and funnels. I've done it like 1,000 times, websites. And people will spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on a store fit out. And then they'll go to some guy on Fiverr and like $100. They don't. It's like, this is your storefront on every corner around the world. Like put some love and attention into it and make it a good experience.
Totally. And this is like one of those areas where like as humans, we really understand what we're looking for, especially when you do CRO, as you've done it and you've built funnels, you develop these intuitions for what's good and what's not good. CRO is one of, I think, the most, for like any established brand, one of the highest ROI things you can do. If you can improve the conversion rate on your store by 5%, right? That means every click you buy just became 5% cheaper. But let's say we can improve it by 20% on this page and 20% on our add to cart or the next step in our funnel and 20% in our checkout. What happens? Well, we just made all of our advertising 50% more effective. So CRO is one of those things. It's like, I think, the unsung hero of digital marketing, because it's just like we were talking about planting seeds for the long term. If you know your business is going to be around in a year, you want your funnel to be as well of an oiled machine as you can possibly make it. And so that it starts with the landing page experience. It starts with user behavior testing, split testing, looking at the GA4 data, looking at Clarity or Hotjar, looking at the heat maps to see what are they clicking on, what are they not clicking on. There's so much that goes into it. We could probably spend a whole podcast just on CRO, but I think that that type of work is one of the most necessary things to do, and it can't really be automated by AI. At least today, I think we're quite far from being able to do that, and you need someone who really is so deeply rooted in that discipline to be able to serve your business and help them improve the CRO, because it is quite technical and it does require like a good foundational skill set and best practices that only comes from doing it 100 times.
Yeah, exactly. And because that's kind of my specialization, I'll just say your funnel is not optional. It exists, right? It's every single touch point, and those touch points are leaking revenue. So that's like what you're saying. You want to go in and tune them up. And then the other thing is CRO, conversion rate optimization. It means something freaking works. So have a good offer, like do the heuristics right before you go fucking around with a button or whatever dumb shit people try and do in CRO button color. I know we've got a few more minutes. So we've got on-page signals, content, hit me. What is it? And what are some cool growth hacks?
Cool. So content, it sounds like everyone knows the word content, and content in different contexts means different things. But in this particular context, it means, how does Google evaluate the quality of our web pages? And they have an equation. It's called page quality. There's a mathematical equation that they use to determine what they believe is the static quality of that content in the web page. And so some of the things they're looking for in the content is, number one, a useful heading architecture, right? So you want your information to start very closely aligned to what the user is searching for, their search query. So they're looking for a strong alignment in the information architecture, alignment to the query. That's probably most foundational. They're also looking for evidence of human effort, that it took us a lot of work to build this page. This isn't just some, wall of text. This is a page that has rich media, things like lists, tables, images, video, even the images themselves. They can't just be AI-generated images. They need to have metadata and signature on them that show that they're like a photo taken on a real phone or a camera. And so they've gone really deep into that. But the human effort grade is a very important component. There's also something called semantic SEO, where they're looking for different semantic mechanisms on the page, specifically things that are called entities. They're looking for entities to be present on the page. They're looking for variations of the search query to be on the page. They're looking for factuality. There's a lot in there, and it gets quite technical. And so if anyone wants to go and nerd out about that, I did a whole episode that really unpacks that algorithm. But that's essentially what it's about, is just tickling that algorithm and making it understand that this content that we're creating is actually really insightful and goes above and beyond information gain, above and beyond the other search results, by providing useful perspectives, useful facts that don't exist already inside Google's knowledge graph. So if you're just regurgitating and you're just using the search results and running AI to like regurgitate search results, well, you're just an emulator. You're not an innovator. And so you have to go above and beyond and innovate and deliver something that they have not seen before, with a different perspective, with different information, not saying different facts, but interesting facts that are relevant, non-trivial, that they have not seen before. So if you've done things like original research, or you've done surveys, or something that is unique that you've actually produced yourself that is original to you, that has great weight in this algorithm. And so the content component is really all about that.
And just running it through a litmus test, is this valuable to my market? Or have I regurgitated some AI generic garbage to try and tick the box on making content, right? Like if you actually are trying to be valuable, that's where you can win in most of this stuff.
Definitely. And a lot of people, I think there's a lot of people that think that all they need to do to create content for Google is just go to ChatGPT and say, write me an article about XYZ, right? That, if it were so simple, then all you would see on Google is just that. We do see that type of content rank from time to time. It's possible for very long tail keywords where there's really no other good content out there. That type of junk content can rank, but long term, it's not a viable strategy. I think a lot of the low quality content that people are producing with AI is just not going to be seen in the search results in the next year. As Google gets better at spotting that that's low quality content, it's going to fall out of the search results, as it almost already has. And but that said, you can use AI if you're taking a kind of finely crafted approach to it, where you're using AI and you're putting in it all the right essential components, right? That factuality, the internal linking, the right heading structure, images. If you're doing that, you can use AI to build amazing content that will rank really well, but it's ranking really well because it's actually useful content that someone who's searching for whatever it is that your page is about will actually resonate with. And that's where, going back to the user experience signals, if the content is good and people are reading it and they're like, yeah, this is actually very helpful, they're going to get the positive signals that show them not only did their algorithm think it's good content, but the users did as well.
And for the technicals, what's the overview and a couple of actionable things that we can take for that?
Yeah, so technicals will have to do with the invisible parts of the website, the heading structures, the schema markup, things like internal linking, the sitemap, all these different components. And in order to kind of master the technicals of the website, you really want to run your site through an auditor. Search Atlas, we have a site auditor. Ahrefs has one. SEMrush has one. They're all over, but ours is a little bit different because we have the only auditor that when you run your site through the audit, not only does it tell you all the things that are wrong, but we give you a button to just click it and it will fix the issues with the website. And so on the technical side, I think now the promise of AI is that we're able to fix and repair and enhance all the technical components with our web pages way faster than we ever could before. It used to be the case that there would be a technical SEO running the audit for your website, taking that audit, giving it to a web developer. Web developer says, you know what, I got to do 10 other things. I'm going to get to this sometime this quarter. And then if they do, they'll pick off one or two things out of 10. And then important things don't get addressed. Things like, and some people are going to stir in their chair when they hear me say this, but image alt text. There, I said it, right? Image alt text is actually important for accessibility. And semantically, when you put alt text in an image, it improves the rankings and the quality of the web page and will actually improve your rankings. A lot of people say, oh, it's not worth the effort to do it. It used to be a lot of times that it would just be too much effort and too much cost to do it across a website. But now we can automate that. And we can automate so many of the things that we used to do by hand. So we can really get a perfect score on the technical side with a lot less effort than ever before.
Amazing. And so the 4 pillars, we have authority and UX behavior off page, content and technicals on page. And if we can get all of those, that's our 4 pillars of SEO. Thank you so much for coming on today. My SEO knowledge is infinitely better than what it was. Also, you inspire me because you are a genuine master of your craft. You are genuinely the best in the world. And that really inspires me to want to fucking do it as well. And it's so cool to see somebody so passionate and so knowledgeable about what they do, but you're so obsessed with being the best and figuring this out. It's really, really cool. So thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your wisdom. Where can people find you, Manick, after this episode?
Alicia, thank you so much. I had a great time today, nerding out a little bit on some of the research we've been doing for the last decade, and I'm glad that people find it interesting. And certainly, from a business results perspective, it's hugely powerful. If you want to learn more about our work and my work specifically, you can find me on YouTube. You can look for searchatlas.com to find our product and our technology. You can find me specifically, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. Pretty easy to find nowadays online and easy to get a hold of. And happy to help anyone figure out their way through this crazy, sometimes convoluted ecosystem that is search.
Amazing. Thank you so much.